Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Starworth. This is my final presentation and I hope you enjoy it. The client that I focused on is a former EIU student. He is 26 years old, very hardworking, and wasn't very susceptible to change. The purpose and the long-term goal that he created was to be able to commit to working out and have a consistency within working out, as well as having a better plan for eating habits and how much he ate and how well he ate. In the past, some barriers that he had was work, traveling for work, eating out, not staying consistent with his diet, as well as working out and being committed to it. It would be a little bit more fluctuating, and it wouldn't always be the same. It would be something that was just conveniency, but in turn, it has worked for him. Short-term goals that he created was to entail new things into his workout and new things into his plan, into his eating habits. So trying some new fruits and vegetables here and there just to kind of broaden his horizons on eating and his ideas of what he should have in his diet. So within that 6 weeks, we kind of mapped things out to be a smooth run. We didn't want to make it too demanding because in the past his plans have been very goal oriented and result oriented, which made it harder for him that if he didn't meet a certain goal, he would be discouraged and fall off from those plans. So our first week, we went through and he treated that first week like it was some of the old habits that he used to have. So he went through his same eating habits, his same working out habits, as well as his time commitment to working out and to bringing his lunch to work. We saw some of the weak areas, some of the stronger areas, which were that he wasn't bringing his lunch to work. He was eating out more. Pardon me. He was eating out more, and he didn't take the time out to figure out where his soft spots were. Some strong areas was that he had a good workout plan and he would be committed to a workout plan, but he wasn't committed to the days of going. Okay, week 2, he worked out 3 days out of the week and he took lunch 3 days out of the week. We wanted to start off at a smaller window of taking lunch and working out because we didn't want it to be too overwhelming. So he would take his lunch 3 days out of the week and then work out 3 days out of the week. He would create his meal the night before, consisting of something high protein with fruits and vegetables, lots of leafy greens. And then working out, he would have a plan before going into the gym. Week 4, he worked out 3 days out of the week and increased taking lunch by 1 day. So this kind of gave him the opportunity to slowly but surely increase the things that he was doing. Like I mentioned before, we didn't want it to be too overwhelming. So taking lunch 4 days out of the week meant that he had another day that he may have a cheat day as the 5th day of the week, or a cheat meal, but it wasn't consistently the same as it was before, as where he was eating out every day and picking something up on the way home and not eating healthy for dinner or breakfast or even lunch, of course. For those 3 days of working out, he kept some of the same habits with cardio and trying weight training, which is something that he's very familiar with and have benefited him in the past. He wanted to entail his same plans as he had in the past with working out, but for moving into the next week to try a couple new things. So week 4, we took lunch 4 days out of the week and worked out 4 days out of the week. So whatever wasn't the same the last week, we wanted to increase it. So these 4 days out of the week, he started to do weight training, of course, enhancement, endurance, and added a class, like a kickboxing class, to his regimen. For those 4 days out of the week that he took lunch, he still continued to create a lunch the night before, just so he could have a plan of what he wanted and not trying to create his diet in something that was so consistent and repetitive. He wanted a little bit of variety. He did start to bring in some new vegetables such as squash and zucchini, and some fruits such as pomegranate and blackberries. So we started to add things smaller, and as we worked our way up. Week 5, We reevaluated everything, so we kept at the same pace, working out 4 days out of the week and taking lunch 4 days out of the week. We kept at that same pace for reasons because as he was evaluating, we wanted to see where he stood with his health. He was being very progressive throughout this week. There weren't any weak spots, there weren't any worries that he couldn't commit to the plan that he made. We did find that the time management that he had was not the best, because he would either rush through creating lunch or he would either rush through working out, and that was something that we wanted to avoid completely because it could falter him and hurt him and knock him off his plan. We did reassess him feeling overwhelmed or rushed, and he did not. He had been able to go throughout the week and not feel drained from the work that he was doing. On the last week, we increased the day that he took lunch by 5 days, and he worked out 4 days out of the week. By this time, he was making his lunch on a Sunday, so meal prepping on Sunday, and kind of bringing variety into meal prepping. So it may not be the same meal throughout the week, but it'll be the same probably every other day. With working out, he decided to add in some max conditioning, athletic training, of course keeping weight training and cardio, but he wanted to bring in a variety of keeping his body moving and how he can do that outside of the gym. He also created a way of having a backup plan when working out. So the things that we saw that were barriers were his time management, sometimes his job, because they still brought food to work for lunch for everyone to provide, which he felt was nice, but it wasn't benefiting him. So he would limit himself if he had anything. Usually he would overindulge and it would impact him negatively. We wanted to make sure that his workouts were still paced equally and not overwhelming him, which worked out very, very fine. His goal was not to focus on weight, but he did end up losing 15 pounds. He did end up losing 15 pounds, which was something that he was very excited about because he didn't want to set his mind on losing weight or just a number. He was able to lose some weight but also increase some muscle, and now he wants to continuously focus on the same thing and has stuck to the plan of increasing the days that he takes lunch, the days that he works out, or the amount of time that he works out, or what exactly he's taking to lunch, in order to progress that but not still focusing on weight and weight only. The behavior method that I decided to use was the health belief model. The purpose of using this was to be able to see where he might have had some barriers, the severity, what could go wrong, as well as finding acute action, and then working forward to keep that effort into efficiency. So the perceived susceptibility that we felt and that we discussed was not having a strong workout plan or not being consistent with eating. How was that affecting him, and what could that possibly lead to? The perceived severity that we had was having not as much physical abilities, some problems with some joints and knees, and pains that he had been having, but how it could increase moving forward had he not addressed his issue. We also discussed the possibilities of obesity, some heart problems, such as heartburn or maybe even acid reflux, and then some benefits that we felt that could come from this would be, of course, losing weight, but we didn't want to focus on that. We wanted to focus on being able to keep up with his eating habits and working out consistently and trying new things. What does this mean for him in the long run for being able to do things that he hadn't actually been able to do before, such as running or running as long? Some barriers will be making the changes. He wasn't very susceptible to change, but with us kind of slowly increasing one thing at a time, it made it very, very smooth. He also wasn't as patient before, but creating this goal plan made him a lot more patient because we put it in a sense that it worked progressively but not rushed. Pardon me. And then once we found some efficiency, then the cue to action was being able to put out this plan, figure out what we wanted to do, what needed to happen, what needed to be drawn back from the past decisions, and what needed to be included. We were able to figure out this plan and put it within 6 weeks, enough to where it could benefit him, increase his abilities, keep his mind moving, and consider new things such as eating habits and different workouts. And then we were able to figure out that he was efficient, and we were able to see that he was efficient throughout his workout. Of course, we had some drawbacks such as time management, or maybe having some cheat days or even cheat meals. But it was still efficient throughout that 6 weeks, making it even better that he was able to do it further on from the 6 weeks that we had planned. Now we have been able to keep in contact about that, what he's doing further after. But it's not as changing because he's now reached to be able to work out a full 5 days of the week, and maybe on the weekend, and taking his lunch a full 5 days of the week, and maybe having a cheat meal. Just giving himself some wiggle room to not feel so pressured or overwhelmed. Pardon me. One thing that we did find, that amongst his weight loss, that he wanted to do something from saving the money that he used to spend on food. He was able to save up money previously, as well as to add on what he was saving during the plan to get himself an Apple Watch. So it wasn't something that was proposed for me, it was proposed from him. He created that idea because he wanted to be able to keep track of his physical activity throughout the day, not just when he was working out, or not just when he was moving a lot throughout work. We were able to keep track of that momentum, what he was doing, where he was working well, maybe where he wouldn't be the best. And he's continued to do that. He's continued to, save something from what he used to spend. What we ended up doing was he ended up writing everything down to keep track of what he wanted to do in the future, what he has done, and what he used to do. So just to compare notes for himself, not just myself, but for him. So now that he sees the decisions that he has made and what he is making, he can kind of continuously create a better plan. Okay? I hope that you all enjoy my presentation, and that everything was answered. And I hope that everyone has a good holiday. Happy New Year.